Hey everybody, I hope you guys are healthy and safe. So I am in Barcelona outside the Mobile World Congress venue right now, and I just got my hands on this. This is the Tecno Phantom V Fold. So Tecno, if you haven't heard of them, they are a Chinese phone brand that up until a year and a half, 2 years ago, only sold phones in Africa. Well, not only, they mostly sold in Africa. So they sold entry-level devices, and they actually are like the #1 phone brand in Africa. But about a year and a half ago, they started setting their sights on other markets, including like the Middle East, like Dubai, Eastern Europe, and also Southeast Asia. And they also wanted to sell devices, above just entry-level phones. So 2 months ago, they launched the Phantom X2 Pro. If you follow my work, you may remember my video on that. It's the first like true flagship phone. It had a portrait lens that was retractable, meaning when you zoom, the lens will pop out a little bit. The hardware was pretty impressive. I thought software still needed a little bit of polish, but overall, that was very good first attempt at a flagship phone from a brand that didn't really do flagship phones before. And now this is the second flagship, and this is an even more premium device because it is a foldable phone. So without further ado, let's do a quick unboxing, and then I'm gonna play around with the phone and give you my thoughts. This is not gonna be a full review because by the time you're watching this video, it will only have been like 20 hours since I got my hands on the phone. So this is just like a first impressions. Okay, so here's the box. When you unfold, it says beyond the extraordinary. And here is the phone. So this is a large foldable like the Galaxy Fold, not a clamshell foldable. So we can see that like all the Chinese foldables, it uses a water drop mechanism, so there's not a noticeable crease. I'm liking this texture. This is very similar to the Tecno flagship phone that I tested like a couple of months ago, the one with the retractable camera. Let's do the first fold. The in and feel is very similar to a lot of other Chinese foldables like the Honor Magic VS or like Huawei Mate X2. So we have here a Tecno's warranty paper, and then we have here a case. So this case just snaps onto the back and it has a kickstand. So yeah, but there's no chance I'm gonna use this case because I like the feel of this back. And over here we have a charging brick. It's a 45-watt charging brick. And this is a USB-C charging cable. Pretty standard packaging beyond the nice looking box. Okay, I've set up the phone, and I gotta say, for a foldable phone from a brand that's not that well known, the hardware is surprisingly good. It feels very premium and solid in the hands. All the buttons are clicky and solid, and the hinge unfortunately cannot stay in place at any angle like Samsung's Flex Mode. But it's not floppy. Like, do you get what I mean? Like right now it's completely closed and you get a satisfying like thud when you close the phone. But when you unfold, it locks into place and it is not wobbly at all. The hinge still feels pretty well built even though it doesn't have a flex mode. This is a 7.9-inch 2K resolution OLED panel, 120 Hz refresh rate. And if you notice, there's no crease at all. It's almost like Oppo Find N2 level good. Now, Oppo's is still more impressive because they managed to do a screen without a crease and have a hinge that can stay in place. Tecno did not, but this is very impressive because even on, I'm not even going to talk about the Z Fold 4, but even something like a Honor Magic VS, you can still see the crease pretty prominently, even though this crease is already better than Samsung's crease. But this is like absolutely no crease at all. But the compromise is the hinge cannot stay in place. Fold up the phone, you have a 6.4-inch, also 120 Hz refresh rate. Now I must say right now, it's starting to get dark, so the screen looks great. But earlier when I was using it under more heavy sunlight, the screen was a little bit hard to see. I can say that maximum brightness of this display is not as high as any other of the bigger name foldables I've tested right now. But it's not bad at all, like considering again, this is a brand that most people haven't heard of. This is impressive hardware, man. I'm also a fan of this back. With this, I believe this is made out of recycled plastic, just like the Tecno Phantom X2 Pro that I tested. And I like this camera module design. So this camera houses a 50 megapixel main camera and a 50 megapixel 2x telephoto zoom lens. Like, it's ideal for portraits. I wish the zoom was a little bit longer, like 3x. 2x it's a little bit short, but at least it's a 50 megapixel sensor, so you have more pixels to play with, including pixel binning. And then you also have a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera. Now, I'm not really gonna judge the photos and video quality yet because like I said, I've had very limited time with the phone. Just look at these photos and video samples for yourself and judge for yourself for now. I will come back with more of an evaluation later on. Okay, so now you're watching main camera footage. I like that nice little bokeh around my head, although my face looks a little bit red right now, I don't know. So nighttime video, I am filming with the phone open so I can see myself. So like I'm looking at myself right now. Okay, so you're watching ultra wide camera footage right now. Ultra wide camera footage. Around the front, you have a 16 megapixel selfie camera here, and also right here. So you have two selfie cameras. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you have two selfie cameras. There's a 5,000 mAh battery in here, which is tied with the Honor Magic VS for the largest battery in the foldable phone right now. And the battery can be charged at 45 watt speeds with the included brick. So far, all the specs that I've ran off are actually pretty standard in all the foldable phones. So where Tecno differs a little bit is it uses a MediaTek chip. This is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 9000 Plus, not a Qualcomm Snapdragon chip. The Dimensity 9000 Plus is still a flagship chip, but it is not on the level of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but you're only really going to notice if you're a heavy gamer or you're doing like 4K video editing. For the most part, if you're just on this thing sending emails, go on Instagram, you're not going to see a difference. This is still a flagship chip. Now, I don't know the price of the phone, nor do I know where this phone will sell. When I know, I will put it into the description below. This is just a unboxing and a quick look at the overall hardware of the Tecno Phantom V Fold. Okay, we're gonna take a quick look at software, okay, not an in-depth look. So this thing runs on Android 13 with Tecno's Android skin on top called HiOS. There are a lot of gestures. I believe you can swipe up with 3 fingers to launch an app into a floating window. And from here, you can also, you have this pop-up button here that you can then push the window to split screen mode and you can open another app like this. You can customize a lot of things about this OS. I will definitely have a more in-depth look at the software when I do my full review. This is just a quick look, but so far animations are fluid. You have an app tray. Everything kind of behaves like you'd expect it to, except the notification shade and the shortcut toggles are split into 2 panes. Okay, like I said, this is by no means a review, okay? This is just an early impressions, first look at a new foldable from a brand that most of us haven't heard of, nor did we expect when launching foldable phones. So I'm excited there's another player in the foldable phone race. I really think this year is the year that foldable phones are going to pick up because Google is going to release one. And I think the rumors are OnePlus will launch one in the US, so and then Tecno is probably going to release this in the Middle East and maybe Southeast Asia, so there's going to be a lot of options. So earlier when I was looking at the hardware, I said, oh, I think I know what's going on. So I think basically I can tell from the hinge design, the overall dimensions, that this kind of follows the blueprint set by the Huawei Mate X2, which also then set the blueprint for the Honor Magic VS. The hardware is just very similar, and that's not something that's uncommon in Shenzhen, because if you remember when my channel first started, I cover a lot of the really smaller Shenzhen phone brands like Diego, Dookie, and all the phones kind of look similar because they all came out from the same Shenzhen factory, the same production line. I have a feeling this phone kind of came out the same foldable production line that made the previous Huawei and Honor devices, because the hardware, the hinge just feels so exactly the same. Even the way that this cap right here, that's like put in place to block dust from going in, looks just like the Huawei Mate X2's cap, and the hinge and the crease just feels exactly like the Huawei Mate X2. Now, I guess if you care about originality, this is a bad look because this kind of just took the blueprint that Huawei set. But at the same time, remember how awesome the Huawei Mate X2 was just like a year and a half ago? When that came out, that blew everyone's mind. And now we have it in a more, pretty sure it's going to be a more affordable device than the Huawei Mate X2. So sometimes it's not original, but at the same time, that's why they're able to make things so fast and at a more affordable price. I have a feeling the person who put this together at the factory line probably put together the Mate X2 a year and a half ago. And again, that's good news because the Mate X2 was awesome hardware, and that's why this hardware is so awesome. And that's not to say Tecno didn't innovate at all. Tecno built its own software, and Tecno built this back on the back, and the camera, it's definitely different from the Huawei Mate X2's camera, so there's still Tecno's own technology in here. But the hinge and the display, the panel, I can tell this is like almost exactly like the Mate X2's hinge and display. So anyway, that's about it for this quick hands-on of the Tecno Phantom V Fold. And if you're interested in keeping up to date with all the latest content, please subscribe to my channel. I get my hands on all the latest in consumer tech, particularly coming out of Asia. So thanks for watching.